this was a suggestion in series 1 that was to be added in about imposter syndrome. And I think it's really viable. But given your role within JLL, do you suffer from imposter syndrome, and how do you deal with it if you do?
I do, absolutely. You know, I'm trying. I've been, you know, as JLL Technologies matures and my role, you know, sort of is less defined as it was when I first started. I think it's actually been a bit amplified, and part of it is trying to take on new challenges. Part of it is to try to offer my services. But I think the bigger part of it is to learn, to try to understand. So, kind of calling back to you're not your user. I was very skeptical of venture capital for a long time. So, you know, like to me, it always seemed like the sort of fundamental question of venture capital is: do venture capitalists create innovation, or do they merely show up for it, right? And my view was always they show up for it. Like, I didn't see them as contributors. But as I got more and more involved with venture capital deals within JLL, outside of JLL, helping my friends with their venture funds, and listened to a book called The Power Law by Sebastian Mallaby. So there's number 4 for you. And hearing the stories of the way that great venture capital deals unfolded, and hearing even how some of the bad ones became what they were, really opened my eyes to that world. And so, like, say I worked in venture capital, I probably feel a certain degree of imposter syndrome, but I think the easiest way to abate that is to get people's stories. So you mentioned earlier that I'm good to talk to about a craft beer. My favorite thing to do is sit down and, just as you asked my story, how did I get to where I am? Hearing people's war stories, there's so many lessons to be drawn from that. And one of the things I would say, a little piece of advice on how to deal with that is, if your guiding principle for great transformation is amplify the bright spots. When somebody's telling you a horror story, say, what in that really worked? What was good? You know, when my previous job at JLL was workplace strategy and moving people to open office workplaces, people don't love that transformation, right? So there was a lot of finding the bright spots, and took a lot of extraction to do so. But building on those towards the end of delivering those change projects, had some really great tools in our arsenal to do exactly that. So ask people, the 2 pieces of advice had to deal with imposter syndrome. Ask people stories, not instructions, but stories. Hear their stories. When you're getting that story, ask for them what the bright spots were.
And it's quite interesting in terms of that role shift that I'm sure you've been on and will continue to be on with JLL Spark sort of coming in, and JLL Technologies having much more of an influential role in your space, because I suppose it means that your role is transitioning and shifting, and you too, as part of that sort of imposter syndrome challenge, is to find the bright spots in your role, in your career, and understanding what actually you know more than anybody else, and understanding. So that makes perfect sense.